Ooh, welcome to the Ford podcast. As soon as I started that, we had a huge lightning. And what do you need? What are you looking
pull
at?
that forward a little bit.
What's that?
The screen.
Oh, I don't think I can. Wow, we are
okay.
such a professional show here.
You guys.
Welcome to the Ford podcast, where lightning, thunder, screens, everything gets in our way.
We're getting stormed out right now.
But we
It's
will
crazy.
march forward.
Yes, we will. We're
Thanks.
doing this podcast no matter what happens.
I know. If we lose power here in a minute, then we are in trouble. We're in big trouble.
True.
Wow. I actually left the curtain open tonight so that everyone can see. If you watch via YouTube, you can see an actual storm here in the Indianapolis area, here in our super expensive studio.
Yeah.
We're just letting it fly. Wow, look at that tonight. So
It is flashing all around us.
Kara, special night tonight. We're going to
Yeah.
try to move things in decency and in order. But tonight, Kari has no show notes. I've got them all this evening, and I have compiled several questions that have come in that I think we took and separated. And I just thought, you know what, these really are so perfect for you, because I think you really do have this down. We've got
Thanks.
some others that we can both answer on a little bit later on, but people are asking, and we just want to try to give wisdom where we can. So you ready for this?
Let's go. I'm
No
nervous.
notes? Why do you have a pen?
No notes. I'm so used to having a pen and checking off when we're done with.
No. Give me
I'll
your
just
pen.
hold it. Oh, man.
Yep. No.
Now what do I do? I'm going to have to hold my coffee
Yeah.
cup.
No teleprompters in here. This is all shooting from the hip.
So buckle up.
Here we go. All right. Number one. Dun, dun, dun. How do I monitor, this question came in. How do I monitor my kids' screen time without watching everything with them?
Ooh, that's good.
And go.
Okay. That's a good one.
Yeah. So how do I monitor my kids' screen time without watching everything with them? So this could be any kid, could be any age.
What I love about this question is like the moms being so real, right? Like, who wants to watch literally everything your kids watch? I remember back in the day, our parents used to watch movies first because we got to watch like 4 movies a year, and we just keep rewatching them.
Right. Homeward Bound. How many times do we watch that?
Peter Pan. Oh man. Yeah. Like
all the Disney movies.
There was so little to watch.
Right.
Now there's no possible way. I mean, there is a possible way. I guess you could do it if your kids are never on YouTube and they only watch, long form movies. But as far as like shows and things like that,
how about
I don't have time.
YouTube?
That's why I said if they don't have
Right,
YouTube,
right.
it's possible. But if your kid, if we're talking about older kids and there's social media or YouTube involved or TikTok, anything that's short form, stories or reels, there is no possible way that you could watch everything before they do. So I love this question. I love that the mom's being so real here. She's not doing it. She's not watching everything.
Yeah.
But how does she monitor? Because even in this day, I mean, I know like it was a big thing back in 2020 that a lot of children's YouTube videos, you would hear like the bluey music or like, Old MacDonald had a farm, but then like the visuals were horrible. So that's the thing. I would say
Real quick, has that gone away? Have
I think
more controls come in?
Yes. Oh my goodness.
wow.
It's storming so loud. I think a lot of the filters have picked that up now.
Okay.
And so the filters are screening through the visuals as well as the audio, which is good. So I don't think that's much as a problem anymore. If someone out there is a mom of littles, let's still watch like the Old MacDonald Had a Farm stuff. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's pretty much gone away. So I would say if you have little itty bitty kids that are still in the Old MacDonald Had a Farm stage, and you are worried about what they're consuming, I would not take the risk. I would just take the screen. I just would. Like they're too little anyway. Their brain development before 5, they really should have very little screen time a day. And I know like I'm saying that coming from, even when our kids were little 10, 12 years ago, kids just weren't on it as much, even a decade ago. But we still did let Tommy have an iPad if we were out to eat, something like that with missionaries or whatever. But I just don't think it's worth the risk. If they're so small and, there's no way to monitor it, just don't let them have it. They'll be fine. They'll live through it. Take it away. And I know too, there's the issue of like, well, I never can get anything done. Well, there's also the issue of we try to do too much anyway. I mean, maybe it's a thing where they need to learn how to play on their own and you take a few weeks to train that. And then you have a little more time because they've learned how to play on their own or to play nicely or to obey better so that when you give a command, it's heeded immediately. So some of this is just child training, and that's kind of the harsh answer because it's the hard answer, and I'm sorry, but it really is true. I mean, if you cannot get anything done because your kid has to have a screen, I really think that's a parenting issue.
Yeah, that's very well said.
Because like even 15 years ago, kids just didn't have screens all the time.
Right.
And somehow through humanity and history, we got up to this point.
Yeah.
So if you're like, my kid's watching too much that I can't control, you just have to take back control. Take away the screen, teach your kid how to color, teach them to do a puzzle without having a meltdown every 5 seconds. Like parent a little bit harder and delay the screen time, I would say. If it's an older kid, again, the parenting comes in. You've got to teach them like, I mean, our 15-and-a-half-year-old just doesn't have Instagram and he wants it bad. And
he does.
Most of his friends have Instagram. I'm just not at the season of life right now where I can parent him through that on a daily basis. So he just doesn't get it right now.
Yeah.
Now there's coming a time when I'll be able to, my work life will change a little bit and we'll be able to spend more time together and I'll have the conversations and we'll have the we'll be able to download some things on the phone that will help. But for now, he just doesn't have Instagram and, he doesn't have TikTok or anything, any social media at all, except for, I think, Be Real. So, and I say I think because I really don't think he's used it in quite some time. I think he has it. I don't know how much he uses it. Not often. So, that's good. That's my opinion and from an experience point of view.
Really good. Okay, number 2, Kara, ready? My 3rd grader is overweight and is starting to notice the difference between her and her friends. Oh. How do I guide her in this insecurity?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, this is tough.
I hate that one. That's tough. That's tough. But I love the heart behind this.
Sure.
I love the heart behind this. So obviously America is in an obesity epidemic. It's just a huge problem. I think it's, 70% now of American adults are obese or overweight?
I could not tell you that stat.
Extremely high.
Sure.
It might be 50%, but I think it's even higher than that now. There's a ditch on either side here. And I know that's my little saying I love to say, but it's true. There's a ditch on either side. So there's American beauty culture, which is you have to look a certain way to be acceptable. You have to be beautiful. You have to have all this skincare at 9 years old. You have to be proficient in makeup by the time you're 11. Like it's ridiculous. It honestly is. And this comes from, young influencers. And there's nothing wrong with makeup or any of those things, but there is a problem with beauty standards for women that is just extreme. It's Botox and injections. And we've talked about this before. So you definitely don't want to raise a kid that thinks if you don't look like everyone else and if you're not as thin, then you're less valuable or you need to work hard. Like that's a horrible way to grow up, especially for goodness, that's so young.
Right.
Like they're still going through all kinds of things and really their body doesn't even out till their late teens. So that's a terrible thing, but it is a thing that, she's noticing. So then the other ditch on the other side of American beauty standards is American obesity and health standards are wildly low because you have people saying, it doesn't matter what I look like, I should be loved and valued equally and I should be, treated exactly the same. The problem is you're going to die in your early 30s. It does matter. It's not necessarily the visual of how you look, but the visual tells us a lot about how you care for yourself. And if you're, hugely obese, then this is a problem because you're not taking care of your body and it is going to affect your health. And then you're not here for the people that you love.
Right.
And so there's a ditch on either side. So what I would do is if she's noticing that young, or this could be a boy too. If they're noticing that young, I would lean into that as healthily as you possibly can. I would say, you know what? It's okay that you don't look like everybody else. It's not about how you look, but it is that, maybe mommy and daddy haven't been prioritizing your food, and we haven't been doing as good as we could for, your body type. So let's work on learning about nutrition together. And mom's going to show you some really good, healthy meals that we can eat that will help. But you might not look like your friends, and that's okay. What you need to focus on is we need to make sure you're active along with mommy and daddy, and we need to eat really well because God wants us to take care of our bodies.
Yeah.
And then after a while, you'll probably look a little smaller, but it's okay if you're not as small as everybody else. And maybe just have a very light conversation about everybody's built differently, because that's extremely true.
Sure.
So I would just have that conversation. And of course, always lead by example. If she's worried about her weight, make sure that you're modeling healthy behavior, that you're, say, let's go on a walk tonight. Don't even make it about her appearance or her weight. Just say, hey, look, you want to go on a walk with mom? Take a walk. Maybe do a fun the kids and I all the time do those little YouTube kids exercises where it's like a competition. It's so cute. They don't even know they're working out. We're just having a blast. So things like that can really help in modeling healthy behavior and changing the conversation from I don't look like my friends and I'm not as, thin as them or as small to how do you feel and how is your health, and let's be healthy as a family together.
That's awesome. I'm not going to add anything. I just want to say I really believe you emulate this so well. Both of these questions,
Oh, thank you.
you've summed it up nicely by leading by example. The first was screen time is, monitoring is you have to be an example. If you really
that's
are
true.
going to cut back, sitting there on our phones telling them you shouldn't be on your phone so much or we're going to take it away, and mommy and daddy are sitting there on their phones, that's a poor example. And the Bible says, be thou an example of the believers in word and conduct and spirit, blah, blah. And then the second too is, we forget, but kids do go through a lot. And I love that you're an example to our kids. You work out, we walk, we're not deceiving, that's for sure. You eat well, and so that our kids are very comfortable coming to you. And because you would feel bad if, you're 50, 60, 70 pounds overweight trying to tell your third grader, hey, you need to start eating better. Or I love how you said, let's do this together.
Yeah.
Let's make this journey together, because it's not easy eating in America. But
No.
again, I love that you are a model for our kids very well in this area, that even both these, they have come, or you don't feel bad when you have to get onto them. We're going to cut back sugar, or let's not do that. Let's eat right. You bought a lot of fruits and vegetables today. You're a great example.
Yeah.
And I think that's for parents where it has to start is in our own hearts, so we can emulate it for our kids. Number 3 here, Kara, let me ask you this. This is a really good one. My kids emulate the behavior of family members, okay? And it feels like they won't develop opinions of their own. So how do I encourage family closeness, but independent/critical thinking?
Oh, that's
Maria, my kids emulate the behavior of family members, and it feels like they won't develop opinions of their own. How do I encourage family closeness, but independent critical thinking?
This sounds like it's for older kids, maybe more for
sure,
for like teenagers,
preteens, teens.
Yeah.
I'd say really preteen going in.
So I'll start there. Though I do have some thoughts about if this is about a younger age as well. So for kind of like preteen to teenagers, I would say be super real. Be super real. I do not care if it's your family. If the behavior they're emulating is damaging in any way, if it's poor character, if it's sinful, if it's anything you don't want your kid to develop as a long-term habit or character quality, I would be straight up. I would sit that child down and say, listen, I know we go to, my brother's house a lot and you're with cousins, or I know you're around aunts and uncles all the time, or I don't know, even grandparents, it could be, I have no idea. But I would say we love them and we're going to keep seeing them around holidays. It's our family. And with family, there's a lot of unconditional love there. However, we have our own family. And in our family, Daddy and I make the rules for while you're here. And so this type of behavior, while we're not going to judge other people and we're not going to, cut off relationships because of it, this is something that we're also not going to do in our home. Say I'm just trying to come up with something. Maybe it's, swearing or even just crudeness. I would just say, like, it's not our place to tell them how to live,
right.
but it's also not going to take place in our home.
Right.
And I just want you to be aware that we love them, and this is not a knock on them, but for us, we're going to just try to take it a step up, and that's just the way we're going to live.
Yeah.
And when you become a parent, you get to choose, and I'm not going to judge you when I'm in your home. But for now, this is how we're going to handle it. And actually, this brings up a funny memory for me. When I was a kid, I remember my dad was an evangelist for a while, and I was probably 7 years old when this took place, and I still remember to this day. Mm-hmm. We went to another ministry family's home, and they had several kids, but they were a little older than us. And I remember them being so crass. And of course, that wasn't the word. I think my mom used the word so disgustingly rude. But I remember we left their house and we had a great time. Us kids had a wonderful time. We had swam in the pool and we had all these, great times. And they were older kids, so we just thought they were the coolest. And we got in the car and my parents were like, if you ever say those words and if you ever act like that in front of guests, we will kill y'all. Like they were so not offended, but just like we knew you are not allowed. Like right. They're not going to call out other people's kids, but like you were not allowed to act like that. And it wasn't cuss words or anything. It was just probably like
just crass. Right. Yeah. That was a big one for my mom too. Yeah.
So, and I thought that was good. Like that was the real, like we knew exactly what we weren't. And so I would just sit your kids down and be extremely honest and extremely, lay it out. Like again, be kind and you don't have to scold them. But this is how it's going to go. If it's younger kids, I wouldn't worry too much about it. If it's not anything like over the line, if they're just like, oh, that kid's kind of a punk or has a, big attitude or whatever. For the younger kids, I would just praise other kids that don't. I would just constantly reinforce that. Like, did you notice, your little friend at church, she is the sweetest thing. I love how kind she is to people. And I would just praise the qualities in other people that you admire. They'll figure it out because they want to please you when they're still young and they're working to please you. And so anything you praise, that's what they're going to do. I wouldn't necessarily get in the car and say like, oh, your aunt and uncle or your cousins, they're just horrible, because they're going to repeat that.
That's right.
But I would just praise the things in other people or other children that you really do admire, and they'll work that out on their own.
Yeah. So let me give you a scenario. Older kids, it's not necessarily crass. It's not rude. It's just the opinion. It's, we don't like that style. Why? Because they don't like that style. Or you get around the politics of, they're heading into their teen years and they only think this because of, you're around cousins a lot, you're around friends, family. It's not rude, it's not crass, it's not wicked, sinful. It's just they don't, this kid is a follower. They're not developing their own opinions, their own style, their own personality. It's just what cousin so-and-so does.
Yeah.
So what's your opinion there?
A follower is tough because you can easily make them follow you.
Sure.
They're not just following someone else. They're going to follow.
And as parents, we like that.
Almost anybody. Yeah. Right. But what you want to develop is that balance between them being a follower of good things, but not just for the sake of being a follower because they can't stand up for themselves. So you want to kind of win their heart back and pull them back over to, I don't want to say your side, but to the middle. Right. So you need to develop a conversation over several weeks where you're questioning the opinions of the people they respect while you're slowly becoming someone they respect. This backs them into a corner because now they have a good relationship with you and they have a great relationship with, say a cousin or an aunt, uncle, or grandparent. But those two people disagree. So now they're forced into
I have to make a decision.
their own opinion.
Right.
Yeah. And that's a beautiful place to be. That's where we all should be.
Right.
You know, you love the people that you love, but you're able to think on your own 2 feet.
Yeah.
And so I would first win their heart back so that not everything you say is met with, oh, brother, mom, you know, oh, brother, dad. You know, you want them to respect your opinion somehow. And that's a whole nother episode, how you do that. But win them back first so that they are tempted to follow you in your opinion, but then, you know, your opposite sides.
Yeah.
You don't want to pull them too far because then they'll only follow you blindly. Well, that doesn't help them because then the next person that they love comes along and they're ripped over to that side. So gently just pull them just far enough to where they want to follow you, but then they're like, oh, wait, I still, you know, I love and agree with both. Now,
Right.
you know, now I have to pick. And they will. They will.
And you want them to develop who they are.
Yeah.
That personality is vitally important.
Mhm.
It's not just I'm a follower, I'm going to be this because of so and so, and including parents. I mean,
Mhm.
they're just, as much as I would like Tommy to follow my footsteps on a lot of things, he's not, because
Mhm.
God created him different.
Yeah.
So I love that,
Then-
finding
yeah.
that middle ground, pulling them to the middle. I think that's so important.
And
It's
I
really
think the
good.
name of the game with that is just questions.
Yeah.
Just questions.
Mhm.
Like once you get past the initial few questions of what they think about an issue, you know, then it's like, well, let's go a little bit deeper. What do you think? Like, I'm confused about this. Tell me what you think about it. And after they've gone through the narrative of their cousin, aunt, or uncle, or family member or friend, they're gonna be like, I don't know. What do you think?
Mhm.
And then that's where you can really hit them with the, you know what? I don't know. Let's look it up together. You look up, I'll look up, and then let's meet up and have this conversation again and see what we both found.
It's good.
You know, you're not just shoving your beliefs and morals down their throat. You're inviting them to think deeper.
It's good. I love it. Do you have time for one more?
I do.
Okay. Let's this is one, it's not really raw for you, but it's definitely real. And the question is, I recently had a miscarriage. How can I move forward when my heart is broken? So recently had a miscarriage. How can I move forward when my heart is broken? And Kari gets emotional over this just because we have had a miscarriage before. It was quite a few years ago now, and it was a tough situation. And so there's always the pastorly side that comes out where it's, you know, we're men, we preach, let's go, let's move on.
Yeah.
But a woman's body, Kari, goes through a lot.
Yeah.
And a lot of hormones, a lot of emotions that us men, our hearts are broken and it's tough. And we hate to see our wives go through this. But there is a pull yourself up by the bootstraps mentality that men have as a warrior.
Yeah.
That it's hard for us really to give solid advice for someone who's in that midst of I need to move forward, but I'm depressed or discouraged, or every time I look, you know, my baby bump's gone, and it's a tough one. So.
Yeah. Yeah, that is definitely, like you said, it's real for sure. It's raw. We've been there. However, I did already have Tommy after my miscarriage. So I do feel like even though any miscarriage is difficult, whether early, you know, late, kids or no kids, I found such comfort in Tommy.
Yeah.
You know, he was not yet 2. We became expecting very quickly after we had Tommy. So Tommy was still very young. So that was a huge comfort to me. And I think that does make a little bit of a difference. If this is your first and you miscarried, I'm so sorry. And that's so tough. If it's any number, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But I think it is similar to other issues in that you have to keep God first in your healing. And that's just across the board. You know, you have to keep scripture in mind. You have to practice positive meditation. You have to concentrate on the attributes of God that are good and that are righteous. And you have to understand that He knows best. I think that more than anything is the biggest comfort, is that God knows best. And I think when you do become a parent, that's so much easier to understand. Because as a parent, you have this understanding that my child doesn't get why I'm making this decision. but it is for their good.
Yeah.
Everything I do is for their good. And I think you do understand that on such a deeper level. And so I think if you focus on that, focus on those thoughts of somehow in some way, though it is difficult to bear, this is for my good. And this does still matter. And, I mean, you can look at the angle of, and I don't want to sound cliche, but that baby truly will never know pain. It will never know this crazy culture. It will never know, disease or handicap or difficulty or, I mean, anything. That baby is, you created a soul that will live forever, and it will live forever in the presence of God. So, in that respect, you've done an amazing job parenting. You've brought a soul into the world that will never die. And I think I focused on that the most. I read that somewhere, like even babies that are never born also never die in heaven. Their soul lives on. And that just hit me. I was like, that's awesome. Because you just focus so much on death when you miscarry, right? Like it's such a death. It's a death of so much hope. And I think focusing on like, hey, that person is still alive and they're celebrating and waiting for me. And just that thought was like, that did it for me. Yeah. And so I think just focusing on those things. And then, of course, in a very physical way, rest. Eat well, eat plenty, dive into your community, let people help you, reach out, don't cloister yourself up, don't grieve alone. I don't think anyone should ever grieve alone for any death. I think that's a different type of death to walk through. But don't grieve alone. Find a community of ladies. You would not believe how many of us have been through this and have walked through this. And we understand. Just every mama that's ever walked this road understands. If you say, I just had a miscarriage, they are, oh my word, I've been through this too. And they will wrap around you. So don't walk alone. Reach out, be vulnerable, and be open. Share your journey. When you're ready, share your journey. Yeah. I've never held that back. That's something that even, when it's difficult, I've always shared that. And it's not something you always want to talk about, honestly, as a woman. No. I don't know why it always feels like a failure on the woman's part. It's a terrible thing that your emotions manifest that way, but they do. And so it's not easy to talk about always, but it does get easier because you see the people that it helps. You see the understanding come alive, and you really appreciate that God can use your story.
It's good. It's good. I think on the husband's end, if I can add that it is just helping your wife, encourage her, be there for her, allow her to take that rest. Don't swallow the lie of, oh, we have to move forward. It's day 2 and we should already be over this. It takes a long time. It takes some time. And so as the husband, it's just allow your wife to get that rest, be there for what she needs. The doctor's appointments are super important to follow up with. And spiritual health is important. Play great music around the house. Be encouraging. Be positive. I think for any couple that's going through it, the wrong thing to do is to try to use it as an attention getter. I do believe that there is a difference between wanting help and then desiring just people to feel sorry for us because we just lost a child. I think there's a time to post and there's a time to let people know, but do it in the right way to where it's, hey, we're grieving, pray for us, or we'd like to give God glory through this. It's just being very careful navigating. I don't think there's a right and a wrong, Kari. I think it's just being very careful in those vulnerable moments, not to just put everything out for everyone to read or see until you can really grasp the situation and what has taken place in your life and in your body. Yeah. And then be encouraged in the Lord, for sure. We're going to see that baby again one day.
That's right.
Yeah. Yep. Great answer, Kari. I think that's going to really be a help for people. And so hope you all have enjoyed tonight. I always love hearing my wife answer questions and speak. And
next week is your turn.
Yeah. She's a great conference speaker. So if you ever want to use her in a church, let us know. Shoot us an email or reach out. We'd love to get her there speaking to your ladies. She's a great, one of the best counselors. I always tell people when I have to counsel alone with a couple, I'm like, man, my wife was here. She'd be so much better at this than I would, or she'd have the perfect thing to say. You're brilliant at counseling. And so
Thank you.
I hope this has been a help. And if you have anything else we can help with, we sure would. Just enjoy trying to answer these the best we can. Follow the Lord, stay in the Word, and we trust that you're going to have a good week.
Have a great week.